Merry Christmas from St. Stephen Lutheran Church. I know that many of you gathered either here in person yesterday evening or you gathered on Zoom. So you've heard this passage recently, but it's worth hearing one more time. And it's not the whole Christmas story, but it's the beginning of the Christmas story in Luke chapter 2. In those days, a decree went out from Emperor Augustus that all the world should be registered. This was the first registration and was taken while Quirinius was governor of Syria. All went to their own towns to be registered. Joseph also went from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to the city of David called Bethlehem, because he was descended from the house and family of David. He went to be registered with Mary, to whom he was engaged and who was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for her to deliver her child, and she gave birth to her firstborn son and wrapped him in bands of cloth and laid him in a manger, because there was no place for them in the inn. Well, having prepared for the midweek Advent services and looking at all those beautiful Advent hymns got me inspired to look closer at some of the lyrics that we have for Christmas carols, because we sing them year after year, but we don't always look at them real closely. And of course, one that I think are many people's favorite is Away in a Manger. And I wanted to read some of the lyrics for you and reflect on them today to celebrate Christmas. Away in a manger, no crib for his bed, the little Lord Jesus laid down his sweet head. The stars in the bright sky looked down where he lay, the little Lord Jesus asleep on the hay. Now, when I hear that carol and when I sing that carol, it always sounds so peaceful, and everything seems like it's so calm there out in the manger where Jesus is laid, which, by the way, the manger itself is actually only the feeding trough. So we don't know if it was more like a cave or a barn, but it's definitely outside. It's not inside in a nice home where most of us would want to be with a newborn child. But I can't help but think that this is probably not exactly the image that was happening for Mary and Joseph that first night. And it certainly is not reflecting my Christmas as I'm preparing for Christmas this Advent and as I'm anticipating Christmas Eve and Christmas morning to be. That whole image of Jesus laying peacefully asleep is just hard to get my head around. For one thing, I have two children, and it's really impossible for me to imagine Jesus just being asleep on the hay with everything else that's going on around him. But okay, Jesus is divine, he's not human, so maybe he was able to have that peaceful time. But are our Christmases that peaceful? Well, mine is not. Let me tell you about the last couple days that I've had in preparing for Christmas. And throughout Advent, not only have I been rushing around, between stores, between churches, between home and school events, but I also have two puppies that we got right before Easter. Now, that means that they are still very active. And that also means that when I am home, they expect me to take them for walks and get them out. And now that it's colder, and especially with the severe cold, these walks have been pretty short at times. And sometimes they've just been out the back door. Now, the problem with going just out the back door is that underneath our deck area is open. Well, if there was lattice work there. Actually, it's not open as of today, but there was just lattice work there that one of the puppies figured out how to tear off and get underneath the porch. Okay, not terribly bad. I mean, what's the difference if she tears up some dirt underneath the porch? That doesn't matter, except on the outside gets you outside of the fence. And today, as we're trying to get stuff done, and as I'm trying to prepare for this message, and I'm trying to just, trying to get all the stuff off of my kitchen table that was for decorating cookies that may or may not happen before Christmas at the rate we're going, and trying to get that all cleaned up. The dog was outside, and the other puppy had come in, and we figured, okay, the one just wants to hang out outside for a little bit longer. No big deal, until you hear the doorbell ring. And the neighbors come over and bring our dog back from their house, which was very kind of them. It does help me think about Christmas in a new way, that the neighbors are kind enough to walk my dog back and make sure she's okay. But it also means that instead of doing those cookies, or instead of doing some cleaning in the house, or maybe some gift wrapping, or all the other list of things that I'm supposed to be doing before Christmas, my husband and I went to Lowe's and found some wood so we could temporarily make sure that it's blocked off so they can't get back underneath the porch again and then escape out into the neighborhood. So that's kind of more how I imagine the first Christmas too, being a little bit more chaotic. Because after all, Jesus is there laying in a manger. And the second verse really captures that. The cattle are lowing, the baby awakes, but little Lord Jesus, no crying he makes. Well, my children certainly didn't do that, but again, he's divine. Maybe he was able to not cry, but it can't be that peaceful with cattle. They're certainly not going to be quiet the whole time. And I'm imagining there's sheep out in the background, and maybe a donkey or some other wildlife as well. I love you, Lord Jesus. Look down from the sky and stay by my cradle till morning is nigh. Again, that sense of peace, that we just want Christ to be with us, which is exactly what we want, but we don't always feel that Christ is with us. Well, maybe some of you are having a much quieter Christmas, and maybe some of you can really resonate with that sense of quietness where you would have moments to look up into a bright sky and notice the stars. In fact, even as I speak, I'm well aware and sadly aware that many who are listening to this message probably are having much quieter of a Christmas than they want to. Because as much as my Christmas day will probably be chaotic and crazy, and I'll probably have 2 dogs running around my house, hopefully not knocking the Christmas tree over for the second time, but I'll also have laughter of 2 daughters, and young children always make Christmas special. I'll also see the joy when presents are unwrapped, and there will not be silence and quiet, but there will be something holy and exciting happening on Christmas morning. And for some of you, it might be a little too silent on Christmas morning, but I hope you too will experience Christ being there by your cradle till morning is nigh. But the very last verse is the one that speaks the most to me. Okay, the first 2 verses don't really speak to my Christmas experience, but many years ago, I had a gentleman who died in June or July, and his only thing that he really, really wanted at his funeral service was to sing Away in a Manger. Now, he'd have been an educator all of his life, and he made sure to educate me on why he would want especially the last verse of Away in a Manger sang at his funeral. And so I'm going to share what Ray shared with me years ago. When you listen to the verse, you're going to hear a prayer. And it is a very astounding prayer that I want to leave with you this Christmas day. Be near me, Lord Jesus. I ask you to stay close by me forever and love me, I pray. And my prayer is that you know the Lord Jesus is near you, that you experience Christ as Emmanuel, God with you. Whether your Christmas is chaotic and noisy like mine will be, or whether it's almost too silent and you feel like no one's there, I hope that you experience Christ being near you, because that is the promise of Christmas, that Christ is with us. But what he really wanted to remember was the very last part of the verse. Bless all the dear children in your tender care, and fit us for heaven to live with you there. And remember, whether you're 2, 82, or 102, you are one of God's dear children. And I hope that every time this is sung, it is sung in a prayerful manner for all of us, dear children who are in God's tender care, that we might be fit for heaven to live with Christ eternally. Because Christmas isn't just about the birth of Christ, but it's about the whole story, reminding us that Christ comes to be God among us, to bring us to everlasting life. Merry Christmas.